Hey everyone, welcome to Tint Wisdom 80 something. Today I'm here with Brittany Green from Sun Distributing and Tint Keg. Brittany, welcome.
Hi,
So,
thank you.
um, yeah, thanks for doing this. And we can jump right in, assuming everybody can hear us fine and see us fine. And why don't we get started by the very beginning? Tell me, how did you get into window film? And catch us up from the very beginning all the way to what you do today on a day-to-day basis.
So my parents started a mobile window tinting business. Um, they did that for a number of years, and then we decided we were going to open a brick and mortar shop. So we did that, and after a while, my dad was like, "All right, I'm getting a little old to be tinting windows." Um, so he was like, "What should I do?" And because we were already buying a lot of film, because we bought all the film for our mobile guys.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was like, you know what, distribution probably wouldn't be so bad. So then we started distributing, and while we were distributing, then we had more and more people approaching us about tanks. So then Tint Keg was born, and it's been 2 years now with Tint Keg, and about 2.5, 3 years that we've had Sun.
Okay. So tell me more about Sun, and then we'll jump into Tin Keg. So Sun Distributing sells tools, film, everything.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
Give me a
We
rundown.
sell.
What
We're
kind
an
of customers?
Avery
Go
distributor.
ahead. I'm sorry. Go
Huh?
ahead. You go ahead.
We're an Avery distributor, so we sell all of their flat glass and auto films, and then pretty much any tool you could want.
Okay. So like, who are your customers? Like, why are they your customers? Like, what? There's a lot of places to buy tools. Why are like,
Yeah.
what kind of? I feel like nobody knows their business as good as the business owner. It's pretty much you. Tell me what's the standout reasons why people shop with Sun Distributing?
I feel like the big draw for a lot of people is that one, we're a smaller company, so you're getting more personalized, like one-on-one care. You don't have 15 people answering the phone for you. You've got like three, maybe four on a good day.
Hmm.
And then with that, all of us are installers too, minus one employee, and he packs boxes. So, but so if you're a PPF installer or you're a window tinner, and you're like, I need help. This is what my problem is. I need a tool that can handle this. Well, we've all got firsthand experience doing it.
Got it. So on the support area, definitely covered there. I mean, I know like we've sent out a lot of tin kegs, and we should jump into tin keg and so on. And like one of the reasons why um, I shop with you guys was because it's so easy. I just shoot you a message on Facebook, and if I can shoot you a message on Facebook and just give you an address, and you're able to take it from there. To me, that's like a very low barrier of order. So like when it's convenient for me, and then everything just works out perfectly, that's a good way to earn people's business, I think. So do you take
Yeah.
how do you take orders for Sun? Like, do you take it? Is it like e-commerce over the phone, through text message, through Facebook? Like, where are you taking orders through?
So most of our orders come through our website. We like to encourage people to order through there because it's a lot easier for us to keep track of.
Sure.
But some tinners, they're older guys, and they're, stuck in their ways, and they just love making a phone call and making some chit chat. So sometimes we'll take those. And then like for the tinners that like know us personally and have our personal numbers, every once in a while I'll get that text message or that Facebook message or whatever. But mostly we try to get people to go through the website so that things don't get forgotten, especially now as we're growing larger. We don't want things to get lost in the shuffle.
Sure, that I totally can understand that, and I support that 100%. I think when sometimes it can be a little tough for, like you said, sometimes the older crowd maybe set in their ways, used to making phone calls, picking up the phone. But I do think when if they take that step sometimes to like make an account online and start ordering through a website, the convenience, like once you get over that, like setting up the account, which is very easy, but then the convenience of being able to order that way versus the phone call and the time you save and the just the whole experience, I think everybody enjoys, no matter how old school or whatever it is you are. I think once it's the better way. So like for Tint Wiz, we do a lot of our support. I mean, 99% of our support is through live chat on the app. And sometimes people say, "Well, what about the phone?" and so on. And obviously, there's ways to make everything happen for everybody. But at the end of the day, the reason why we do live chat is because we know we can provide the best service. And like you said, things don't get forgotten. And if I'm ordering tools from you, I don't have to question if I ordered it, if I said something or whatnot. It's there in black and white, and there's no confusion for anyone.
Right.
Yeah. You got a lot of positive
Yeah.
comments, by the way. Brittany's number one says Chris Queen. Brandon Salerno said you're very involved in the window tinting community. Thanks for the hand sanitizer. And Mike Powell says, Britt, we love you. So yeah, obviously well integrated into the window film community. And you've been into window film for, you said, about through how many years?
Oh, 3, 4.
So that's actually, in a way, I mean, a short time. And I only mean a short time, not experience wise, but I mean to have such a big following online. Like, how do you know all these people and how are they such fans of you? Is it through Sun distributing and tool orders, or is it through groups, or how do you know so many people that love you?
So some of them are on distributing. I feel like a lot of the relationships that I built through, my dad being in the business as long as he had and all the people that he got to know. And then when we opened Sun, we started going to conferences and meeting people in person. So a lot of them I feel like knew him more than they knew me.
Okay.
And then once we met in person, it made that connection and they were like, "Oh, wait, you're kind of cool too. Let's be friends."
And for anybody who doesn't know who your dad is,
Rick McIntyre.
so, and is there anybody else in your family that also, I don't know, involved that, like, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, or within the company, I guess, that notable?
Yeah, my mom, that's Mary Dunham High for anyone that's seen her on the forums. That's my mom. My brother's actually a tinner too, but he doesn't really
Get on the forums?
try and get in front of the camera or anything like that. He's very behind the scenes.
Okay. So it's definitely a family
Hmm.
business. So I'm curious if it's maybe a better question for your dad, but maybe a better question, maybe a great question for you. How do you, you have a window film business and then you have a supply and distribution business as well. And I'm curious, like, how do you already explained like how that came to be, but how do you distribute where the future goes, where your time and efforts can go in 50-50 two directions, more in one direction, or so on. Where do you see it going, or where is the path? Like, how do you make that decision? Because I feel like that's the ultimate decision: is where do you spend your time? Because the grassy water is, the green water, like the green grass.
Right. So when we first started, Sun was small enough that it actually ended up being kind of put in this little back tiny room back behind our tint shop. So when it was still like a very new thing, it wasn't really that difficult. We could easily pop between the two and whatever. As Sun has now grown, that's starting to become more difficult. We're actually about to move. We really needed a bigger facility. It wasn't plausible to continue in the space we were in. So we are actually about to split our tint business and Sun Distributing apart.
Mm-hmm.
That should be coming within the next month or so. And what we decided was that my mom and brother would stay at the tint shop unless they need me to do PPF. And then my mom and I would switch places. And my dad and I are going to go to Sun Distributing.
Got it. So, what are, I mean, like you said, now you're growing, you're separating. Would One of the common questions is, like, what are the biggest challenges a tint company faces? And oftentimes the answer is hiring. Do you feel like do you feel like this is going to possibly spread you thin and make hiring more of a necessity, or not so much, or
Yeah, I mean, with our tint shop, my brother's a fantastic tinner. He's got that handled. We don't worry about that business. And a lot of the hiring struggles that we've had is in tinning because it is so specialized. As far as sun distributing goes, yeah, it's a little bit of a struggle hiring, but when all you're hiring someone for is to learn what a tool is
right?
and put it in a box, that's not so hard to find good help on.
No,
And we actually recently found a really good employee, so we're real happy about that. Um, Obviously, here soon we're probably going to need a few more, but we're just kind of trying to take it one step at a time and just take a breath every once in a while.
yeah, and that's important because it definitely can overwhelm. I feel like it can consume up every bit of your life if you let it. And that's a good problem to have, but it still feels like a bad problem sometimes when you have it, even so it's a good problem. It still feels like a problem sometimes. So, okay, tin keg. Um, Been around for a couple of years, and we're talking super high quality, available in different sizes. And, obviously, this is a way more efficient way to work than a spray bottle. Also, a little easier on the forearms.
Yes.
So tell me a little more
Yes.
about what goes into a tin keg.
So the wonderful thing about Tint Keg is that we tried to make them as highly customizable as possible. Which sometimes some people find it a little more overwhelming because, before this, when you would go to a tool supplier to buy your keg, you would get the option between a 3 gallon or a 5 gallon, and that was it.
Sure.
But then we were like, well, why? I can give you a different length hose. I can give you a different style of hose. I can give you a different sprayer tip depending on what you're installing. You want extra filters? Like, let's do it. Why are we confining people to this box when we don't need to?
Sure.
And every installer is going to have a different need. So let them build their tool to their own specifications.
Sure. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, I always say, like, because people bring up, like, hey, I can build my own keg. You definitely can build your own keg, but do you know the ins and outs of it? Do you know the problems that haven't occurred yet that when they happen, it's going to be a real pain in your ass? Like, nobody wants like a hose exploding or like a keg leaking or filters getting clogged or, you know, so I think, like, what you do with tin keg is just a perfect example of, like, if you take it over to window film, like, it's not about it just figuring out a way to do things cheaper than the person next door. Like, you didn't just say, hey, we're going to find a way to do cheaper kegs. You're like, we're going to do better kegs and customizable kegs, and of course people are willing to pay for it. I think it's one of the
Right.
coolest
Right.
window film related things out there as far as tools go.
Yeah. I mean, I've gotten a lot of hate for saying it online, but one question I always pose is, yeah, you can absolutely build them cheaper. You could go out, you could source all the parts yourself.
Yeah.
That's great. But when something goes wrong, who are you going to call? If you don't know what's wrong
Right.
and you're just saying, I don't know, it's leaking from this point, but that point could be 5 different parts.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with being handy and figuring it out and all that. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a tinter, if you already know, like, tinters know how valuable is your time. So if you know how valuable your time is when it comes to the customers wanting your time, you have to give your same self the same respect when it comes to you valuing your own time and deciding, like, what you do at that time. And I just feel like when somebody else specializes in something, why not take advantage of that specialty and their knowledge instead of learning everything on your own?
Right. And that's one thing is, like, when people call us and they're like, listen, I love tint kegs, I just can't afford one. Can you help me build one? We will help them. We will give them pointers on what to watch out for because, I mean, we've got boxes of parts that we don't use for one reason or another because we realized that they weren't a good idea.
Yeah.
So we will help and, like, try to guide them and things like that. Because we understand that not everybody can drop that kind of money. There's people out there, they've got families and things like that, and we absolutely understand it.
However,
I don't know.
however,
It's just one of those things. You know, like, yeah, you could go out and do it, but at the same time, you know, you could have the convenience of having it completely done for you, take it out of the box, fill it up, and plug your hose in, and you're good. You're running.
Yeah. And when you say like obviously like not everybody can afford it. Like, the reason I was saying however is kind of because it's it's not a luxury. It's a tool for your business. So if you like it, if it's going to make you faster, you have that right there. So it's a tool. If you're able to invest a couple $100, and for that you gain efficiency every single day moving forward, that's not a luxury. That's a necessity. And then the second thing is, the fact that you customize them and you can put your logo on them potentially. When you're obviously today, like, it's super important, take pictures of your work, post it on social media, send it to potential customers. Your pictures are your proof. And it's so easy to line up a tint keg in a picture with the logo, and then you're not only showing your logo, but you're showing this kind of cool designed piece of equipment that then gives further credibility into your company. It sets you apart a little further. People notice that. So I just feel like they're the coolest, like they're literally like the coolest picture, like you get the coolest pictures with them in it. And then like there's Mike Norg out of Texas makes a peel board and like rolling PPF stations and so on, and he has the mounts on them for the 5 gallon or 3 gallon kegs. And like when you put that keg on a rolling station like that, like a PPF station, and you show an installer installing PPF, and you get the tin keg with your logo and the whole, even if it's not your logo, but there's a cool logo, there's a wrap on it, like the picture is worth like $1 million versus what's the other option? Yeah.
Right.
I don't know. I really like it. I don't think it's I don't think it's a luxury for those who don't have families or aren't tight on the budget. I think these are the kind of investments you have to get used to making into your business and spend that money because you do get a return. Like,
Right.
I'm just going to keep talking for another like 30 seconds, but everybody should think about that. you know, when you think about really what is your business made up of? Is your business a wow business or like a subpar business? What is it really made up of? You have your human interaction, how you treat your customers and so on, which is easy to fix. And then you have things like uniforms, paint, vehicles, a wrap, and your tools. And like, if you can buy that stuff and you can all of a sudden have a company that looks like $1 million, but it's just a matter of investing in it, getting everybody to look on point, having the tools in there and so on. And it goes a long way.
Yeah, no,
So,
I love when we do custom wraps. Usually those are the best pictures we get. Are people posting all over their own Instagrams and things like that, their logo on the side of their keg with cars in the background and like really candid shots of their installers and things like that. I love those.
yeah, that's huge. And Cody said that's why we bring more than one keg to a job, 3 hoses in the van, along with 5 hand bottles. Never know what's going to happen. You definitely want to have hand sprayers too, and kegs, and you could just fly through, especially like, I mean, automotive and flat glass. You can fly through putting cleaning glass and putting film on glass when you're using a keg versus this constantly every day, and then they break. That's the other thing is obviously the spray bottles break, they leak, you're filling them more often. Like there's so many reasons to go this way.
Right. And I mean, a lot of times when like plastic sprayers break, like the hand pumps or, you know, like your poly 2s or just your regular spray bottles, usually it comes down to replacing it. Where with a keg, yeah, you're doing a little more money up front, but a lot of the fixes are actually really cheap. So,
You should lower your camera, Rick says.
oh,
I didn't want to tell you, but it's a good idea.
maybe Rick should be over here holding the camera.
Is Rick there?
No.
Oh, because he could. I mean, if he's there, why not? Which is going to be something we're enabling in the future on Tint Wizdom. So we're going to kind of do an interactive thing. Maybe as soon as next week. So anyway, we'll be making a post to announce how the interaction will work so that people can kind of join these Tint Wisdoms. So he could join in potentially in the future, which would be kind of cool. And hopefully he'll do one in the future too. Christian Collins said the air pressure makes a lot better. Spray off the trash. So yeah, the air pressure from the keg is obviously superior to the pressure of getting out of a spray bottle. And Carrie was just talking shit. I won't even read it. And then Cody said, plus you can use the keg to fill a ham bottle when you're too lazy to carry it upstairs. That's another good point, Cody. So beyond the tin kegs, is there any other tools that Sun produces, or is it just, or is it distribution primarily? Are there any tools you make in house or have made for you?
The only other thing that we actually handle in house is Squeaky Monkey, which is our hydrophobic coating remover. That one we have made for us. The tint kegs we actually make ourselves, and then and everything else we source from other people. We try to source tools in the U.S. when possible. We love supporting other.
So we're not going to touch the tools in the U.S. Stay far away from the U.S.
There's so many that aren't made.
What?
And that's the problem.
Say it again.
There's so many tools that aren't made here, and that's kind of a problem.
Why is it a problem?
Or they'll, well, because it's like, we really love like supporting other small businesses and other businesses like here, and especially businesses such as like Fusion that are making tools specifically for our industry.
100%.
These are things that are, being repurposed. We like to support them in the hopes that they will continue doing this for us.
100%. No doubt about that. But what's the problem?
But sourcing them is just hard.
You're saying it's hard to get them made in the U.S.?
Yeah, or like even for example, like the corny kegs, what we use to build the tint kegs, you can't find an American manufacturer, period. You've got to get them from India or China. And then, this whole virus thing, like made that all
so I understand.
A mess.
The problem you're saying is that you'd ideally be 100% sourced in the U.S., but that's impossible with some tools. And obviously we know the issue of getting stuff in and out of the country now.
Yeah. It kind of, the virus kind of snapped a lot of things into perspective. Like, how much we actually depend on other countries for certain things, and how, well, when they are no longer an option, what are we going to do?
We're going to pay an increased amount for it from another country, or we'll end up making it ourselves. If that's what happens, like if the supply chain gets cut off for whatever reason, I mean, typically it doesn't get cut off. Typically, I think it gets tariffed, and then we just pay more for it if we don't get along with the country. But let's just say it got cut off completely. Then you have to make it in-house, right? I mean, you have to make it in the country. Somebody will make it. Like, somebody can make kegs in the U.S., just probably not nearly as cheap as they're being made wherever they're being made, right? But, like, we know people can make
and there are companies that make kegs. They just don't specifically make corny kegs. And we've actually reached out to some of those manufacturers to see if they would be interested. And more or less the answer we were given was like, nah, we're fine with what we're doing. Run along.
Got it. Because of like minimum quantity orders type of thing?
Yeah, they're just like, you'd have to buy a lot for it to be worth it to us, and it's just not going to happen. There's just not the kind of demand that we would like to see. Got
it. So the hydrophobic removal product you mentioned was Squeaky Monkey. And hydrophobic coatings are obviously more and more common, whether they're aftermarket or even from the factory. So this is like actually a problem. Like you see posts probably once a week. So like, what is this shit on the window that I can't get off, and so on. So tell me more. This is the solution. Is this all you need? Is there anything to be careful of? Can you damage door panels with it? Like what does everybody need to know or not know about this?
So the beautiful thing about Squeaky Monkey in comparison to the other things that people are using to remove these coatings is that, one, it's completely safe. It's not going to, I don't know if anyone really cares, but I care. It's not going to damage aquatic life. It doesn't have any sort of toxicity to it. It's 99% water soluble. That 1% that's not are microbeads.
So it's super important. It's going to be safe to be around every day. You can inhale it because you're going to be in the back of or probably on the side windows, but potentially a back window inhaling it or whatever it is, like every day of your life that you're tinting. So potentially one
Yeah.
day. So safe there. If it gets on car interior, can it damage it?
We've never seen it, and to the best of our knowledge, from what we're told by our people that are cooking it up, we're all good on those.
That's really
I mean,
important.
obviously, on some interiors like suede,
Well,
you're
like
gonna
water
want
can
to cover
damage.
those anyway because of water.
Right, like water. If water is gonna cause a mark, then like anything liquid will. But
Hmm.
because I think like that's a trap sometimes tinters can get into when they're doing removals or something like that, and they're like, "Let me find a chemical. Let me find a chemical." They keep going with a chemical. Before you know it, you've damaged somebody's car. It's just like a matter of freaking time. So like and then you're better off not getting in near any chemicals. But in this case, you probably need it. Like, what's the alternative to this? If somebody doesn't have squeaky monkey, what are they doing to get that coating off of there? If they don't have it on hand and the car's in the car.
I've heard I've heard wheel acid.
Okay, so that for sure will destroy anything.
Yes, I've heard torching it, which is really interesting because I don't know that it actually takes the hydrophobic coating off because when you torch it, it like leaves a bit of a film on it.
Okay.
So it's not hydrophobic anymore, but it's not film free either. So I'm not sure why that is. And then I've heard people say 91% isopropyl alcohol or 99.
99. Yeah.
I don't know. We've heard a few over the years, and we actually did a video when we first brought Squeaky Monkey to market, and we took our glass peel board and we put a hydrophobic coating over the whole thing, and then tested them all side by side.
Hmm.
And what we found was that it works better and is safer, and so it's kind of like, well, even if you don't feel like it works as well, it's still going to be safer for you. So,
So when you're testing,
but the
did
only
you
thing that,
go ahead?
sorry,
No, you go ahead.
no, the only thing that people have had frustrations with it is that there are microbeads in it. So, we tell people, if you're on your sides of the window, or some people like to use them on like chargers for the defrosters, you need to make sure you're wiping it with a microfiber to really get all of those microbeads out.
Got it.
Because if not, you're going to get that film wet and it's going to suck them in and it's going to look like dust.
Got it. So it's kind of like the exfoliating for your skin. It's got the little dots in it. And if you don't get those dots out, you have dots in your tint. So in your testing, did you inadvertently figure out which coating is the most difficult to get off?
No, we actually haven't used too many, and the auto industry as a whole, as far as what it is that manufacturers are using, they're not like keen on just giving that type of info up to you.
And then
Rude,
are there
but
any certain like cars that you just know, like Nissans or like Lexuses, like certain models that 100% of the time are getting this hydrophobic coating, or is it still just like when you come across it, you come across it?
Range Rovers.
The Range Rovers have it.
Range Rovers every time, and Range Rovers were actually the frustration that made us make the product.
Okay.
I mean, it is like kind of a regional thing. What kind of cars each person's going to see. Those are the ones that we see most that have the coating, unless you've got somebody that just really loves Rain-X, which there are those customers.
Got it. So you're a women in window film. Are you part of, is there a group?
Yeah.
There's a group. So like women in window film to me is a huge thing. Like, okay, first of all, I'm not a woman in window film, so I see very little window film stuff. I just kind of had this hint it existed because I feel like there was a time where the men in the group were talking about like somehow joining or infiltrating. There was something like, so I just knew it existed. But
Yeah.
the reason why I think it's okay, I could imagine as a woman in a primarily male dominated industry, it being intimidating to post in groups and to ask questions. Because I think as a man in a window film group, it can be intimidating to post in the groups and so on. So as a woman, being a minority in essence, I could see it being even more. So I imagine the window women in window film group was kind of a place where you can maybe get around that and feel more comfortable posting about window film. Is that a good summary of what's going
Yeah,
on?
definitely to a point. It's kind of funny because when you're posting in groups that have a lot of men in them,
Hmm.
you usually, like if you ask a question, the chances of you being called an idiot outright are much lower.
Hmm.
But the assumption that you're stupid is much higher. So,
Okay.
but Women in Window Film is really great because at that point we're all kind of on this level playing field, and when we have frustrations with things that we're running into, um, with our male peers, we can sit there and all talk about how horrible you all are.
That makes sense.
And we also have Women of Rap as well, so that's another cool lady group.
Got it. Okay. That's really cool. And how many, like, is there hundreds of women in these groups? Is there 30? Is there
Yeah,
thousands? What are we talking about? Like, what's the
there's
women population in window film?
I want to say the last time I checked, Women of Raps had like 200 something members, and then Women in Window Film was about 350, 400, I believe.
Got it.
They're relatively similar in size.
That's a good number. And I feel like if you only went by what you see in groups, you would think there was three, but like,
Yeah,
or four, but like, that's a great number. And I can tell everybody a secret, or maybe not a secret, but an observation that, with Tint Wiz, we do demos and we do training and all that. And most of the time, companies that come on like ready to be organized and like ready to go, there's a woman involved. I'm not saying all the time, but most of the time there's a
right.
woman involved. And the like, when you talk about being organized, like I know this personally. Like I I brought my wife into the business, and she was the most valuable person, like so valuable. Like it's just like, and I know a lot of tinters out there are like, or tint shop owners, they're going, how do I don't have a minute to hire. I don't know who to trust. I don't know. Well, typically like the person you can trust most is like if you have a wife or a girlfriend, like, or a husband, if you flip the roles or whatever it is, like it's family or it's your spouse. So like, you know, I do think people should really consider that, because it's easy to say, "Oh, I don't want to bother you with it," or "Oh, you're not going to know what you're doing," or "I'm going to get in a fight with you if we work together," and all that stuff. But like those are not really like real things. Those are just kind of I don't know, like little nonsense excuses. I feel like, because ultimately, like you guys, like that's that's a good step for most people if you're in that position and you have that as a possibility.
I mean, when my parents opened their mobile business, my mom knew nothing about window film at all.
Hmm.
Um, my dad had been working for a shop when the economy tanked. His boss came to him and said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to need you to take a $300 a week pay cut." He was like, "I've got a family. I can't do that." Like, what? But at that point, he had been tinning in our area for so long that a lot of people knew him. So by the time he drove from work to home, he already had another job. Um, and they were working under these two people that were managing the mobile fleet originally. And then it was a husband and wife team. They decided they didn't want to do it anymore. So my dad looked at my mom and was like, "Hey, what do you think?"
Hmm.
And she was like, "Yeah." So all of a sudden, she was having to answer questions about film and give out pricing and scheduling and all of this stuff. So she just had to learn as she went.
Sure.
And he kind of was like able to just mold her into answering how he wanted her to answer, and based on what his specific style was and things like that. The only employees that we've been able to retain like long term, minus one, has been family. And don't get me wrong, it's really hard to work with your family sometimes because we don't extend the courtesies to our family that we're going to extend to
You should,
strangers.
though. You should. You really should. You
Should,
should.
but
No, not but. You
I'm
should.
more willing to my family members that they're making me mad than I am a stranger.
Nobody can make you mad.
Um,
You can only make yourself
but
mad.
it's great. You know, it's great getting to go to work every day and like hang out with my parents and like tell my brother he's ugly. And, you know,
There's that too, because if you're at work not with your family, you see your family when you get home and you're tired, or before work when you're like rushing out. If you're at work with your family, you get to spend more time with them. That goes for your dog or cat too, if you can do that. Because really, like, they're family. But so I'd like that. You know, you said like that your dad trained your mom in a way that like molded her to how she, you know, and enabled her. And you mentioned, I think you said that you do PPF installs, yeah.
mm-hmm.
And like that, I think super important because you'll come across these shops sometimes where they have a receptionist. So like, you know, and then it's like, okay, she's the receptionist. We're not going to train her on the film. We're not going to train her on this. Her job's just going to be to talk to the, you know, take the customer's information, and then somebody else will call them back and kind of answer questions and so on. And like, I just feel like, number one, that's the worst strategy ever in the world, because there's nobody who can't learn. So you might as well help them do their job better by teaching them. They're going to like the job more and feel better about it than if they don't know the answer to people's questions all the time. And and you know, I do think as a woman, if you're getting a contractor calling, let's say for example, if you're getting a lot of like men, if you're getting a man to call in, they're calling about their car. Like, I think more times than not, and sometimes I'm 100% certain even women do this, more times than not, they're expecting a man to answer their phone. And they feel like if you're a female and you're answering the phone, you're not that like you're not that like high up in the company. Like, you don't really know. You're not a decision maker. You probably don't know much, and they need to speak to somebody who does know. And when you overly equip that person with information, you can blow people's minds, because I think that's the best opportunity to shock somebody and make them yours, when you go in there and go, no, look how much I do know. And then um, next thing you know, they're all yours and you're the only person they want to talk to. And like, that is an opportunity. And I'm curious, because Charles Dunham said wishful thinking, really. I want to know what the wishful thinking was, because if
It
it's
was
what I
probably about
said,
the comment that he's ugly.
say
That's my
again.
brother.
Oh, okay. That maybe the mad thing. I don't know, but I want to hear the expansion. So I'm going to read you some of these comments. Charles, oh, I see what Charles was talking about. He was mentioning that maybe you'll be on time to work tomorrow.
Oh
And
yeah,
then
no, never.
and then your mom mentioned that maybe you need some pointers. I think what we need to do is get the whole family. And then Rick said, wouldn't that be nice? I think we need to get the whole family on a Tint Wisdom, and that could be like family edition.
Here
I
we
think
go.
everybody could benefit from it. But listen, I'm going to throw some pointers out there real quick, because your mom said it. She said, guess we need some pointers. Here's some pointers. You all work for a company. The company is the thing. That's the God. The company is the God. And you are all children of the God, and you're there to make the God, to please the God, do what's best for the God, because that God provides you with food, shelter, and everything. And if you're not going into work on time, you're saying that that's not that important. I'm just saying that's what it is. And when everybody does, like when everybody acts the way they should act, you set this culture, you set this vibe, you set this flow, and like things do go better. Like, it's important. You got to do it. So I'm just saying. I'm not trying to get into family life, but I do
No, I
feel
got punished for
I
not being on
look.
time already.
I
Oh, you
want
can't see my boo boo probably.
I want to point out.
I already got
Huh.
punished for not coming in on time.
Look, if you get
I ran
hit,
into
if
a
you get
shelf
hit at
because I was
work,
with the rubber band.
if you get hit at work because you're not there on time, that's I can't. We can't touch that right now. You definitely should get off this live stream. Um, but I want to point one more thing out for anybody who has family working with them. If you have family working with you, do not make the mistake of paying them less because they're family. Pay them more because they should be doing a really good job for you, because that kind of like, I'll pay you when I have the money, and like, well, your family, so you get less. Like, it's a career for them. You want it to be a career for them. You want them to invest in it and feel really committed. So like, I just feel like that's the opposite. It's like this easy way to like, well, I'm going to get them on and not pay them. You should pay them, because that's what makes it real.
I feel like it's kind of like a delicate balance. On one hand, you know, it kind of depends how you're related to the person. You know, like me, my parents own it. So when they're gone, it's mine. So like you should definitely be paying them enough to live on. But also I do understand that sometimes there's going to be times where I have to make sacrifices because someday I will be taking over. So this is me investing in my future.
For sure. But that doesn't like
But
that's
yeah,
pay
generally
a
these
fair
kids are going to be
wage.
struggling making minimum wage because you're their boss.
Right. Yeah, it's pay a fair wage. If you have long-term investment into the company, then certainly you may be happier at a lower wage. But what I'm just saying is don't do that like, well, you're my kid, so I'm not going to pay you. I mean, you might do that to your kid. But when
Yeah.
people become adults, I feel like you want them invested in there because sometimes what I've seen happen with companies is you'll get people who are involved in the company part-time. So they're hey, I work a couple days a week. I help them with so and so and so and so. And these people sometimes are like super vested into the company. They really work hard. And it's like, well, why don't you work full time? Oh, because I need to make money. They don't pay me enough or whatever. And like what I'm saying is sometimes those situations, like as a business owner, you're shooting yourself because those are the best people. And you're probably spending that money on other people while you have somebody there that's dying to work for you, but didn't consider it because, well, how could I take money from the business? That's all I'm
Right.
saying. But certainly, it's your family or business. Like if you work for free, it is what it is. It's going to be yours one day.
Right. But that's also not encouragement to not pay me. I like having money. So
Definitely, definitely. Um, yeah. All right. No more family stuff. I don't want to get in any hot water with anybody. Um, Cody said, "Can I record you saying that so I can make it my dad's ringtone?" I mean, man, like father son type of scenario, like especially. I mean, father daughter, it's the same thing. But like, I'm just thinking Cody because I feel like they probably both go install together and they work together like very intimately. Like I think it's I guess it's the same scenario. I don't know. I just can't imagine. I never had the opportunity to work with my dad because it would have been such a disaster because like I just feel like fathers always know best, but then there's a point where the child actually starts to know more or different things than the parent, the father or mother. So you kind of come up with this, well, I know a lot of good information, but then the other person, I know a lot of good information, and then you start it's like a tug of war for who knows more and who's older than the other person, you know? Politics of family businesses. The fact that you went
yes,
silent sounds like I hit something, like I hit like a nail or something.
no comment.
All right, moving on. Jake says Selena kills it. She had a couple incidents with guys not taking advice or judgment, but I told her to have to be firm and confident. She rarely comes to me in a situation anymore asking my opinion because I helped her boost her confidence. She's the boss. She's the manager and handles things amazingly now. And that's definitely it. Like build confidence in people and like don't be one of those bosses who like you're like, well, every car is priced different. So come check with me on everything. Because like you just take away any sort of confidence somebody can have in anything. And the second they get questioned, they're like, I don't know. Let me go ask. So definitely like empower her or empowerment is the key, whether it's a him
Yeah,
or
no,
her.
Jake's girlfriend Selena is great. She's wonderful.
How do you know
Um,
her?
I know her because Jake is actually not far from us. So, I go over there every so often to drop off film and she calls and we chat and she orders and things like that. Um, yeah, she's definitely grown a lot since he brought her on and, started teaching her like this is what we do. Um, but I've seen her deal with customers and I appreciate her approach. She is not going to take that, oh, well, is there a man I can speak to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to be ready for that because there's tons of men. First of all, I've had female customers call our office in LA previously and say, women. This happened multiple times. Say, I want to speak to a man." So you're like, well, you think men are going to be the ones who are like that, but it definitely exists in women too. I think it's just like an old school certain percentage of the population. But with the disadvantages come the advantages. And some advantages of being female, I think, are especially when you're dealing one on one in person, like face to face. A lot of men, like if you're a man and you happen to be tall or like big, you can be intimidating to a lot of people just because of like your your build. Do you know? And like, there's a lot of like, I just feel like as a woman, you're not going to be as intimidating, which make you an ideal salesperson. If I'm a single woman and you're coming to my house for a window film consultation, I can imagine a lot of people feeling more comfortable with another female coming in than another male into their home. I could see that. So like, I feel like as for consultants for a company, if we were playing build the gender, like gender games as consultations, which is probably not something we should be talking about at the moment. But I'm just saying a female team, I think, would win in my book over a male team if everything was equal. Other like it's hard to say that because of course experience would be the. But what I'm saying is perception and coming into homes and that sort of thing. I like female teams. I think there's a lot of softness and nurturing and patience that come a lot of times more with females and sometimes with men. Just saying that.
Yeah.
Feels like.
I can definitely see where in our own customer base, we've retained some of the customers that we have because they don't feel comfortable going into all male shops. Where when they walk into our shop, the very first person that they see is either myself or my mom. So it puts them at ease sooner because they don't have some like big gruff guy, like standing over them. Not to say that they can't be phenomenal salesmen because they can,
For
but
sure.
it's just there's something about it that a lot of women really like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's for sure not about saying like one's better than the other. It's about recognizing the advantages and disadvantages in the real world of where you're at and then focusing and really building on those advantages, whichever, gender you happen to be, and not focusing on potentially a possible disadvantage and then ruling it out because, yeah, definitely crazy. So Jake said, hence how we won the tint keg. I mean, tint. Boobs sell hands down. I agree with that, but I'm not sure what the reference is. Do you know the reference?
He won a keg because he posted a picture in one of the forums of his girlfriend bent over his tint keg with her cleavage.
Got it. And then who voted? The people in the group?
He rigged the competition.
Say again?
Well, like the competition was that they had to post a video or a photo or something like that, and the one with the most likes wins.
Okay.
And I don't remember now who it was. Someone did the video, and it was really great, and it was winning. And then Jake brings the boobs out.
Smart man.
And it won at the last second. It was rude.
Jake, you should move into the marketing department of your company. I really think you figured things out. Smart man. If you want to win a contest. All right, then. So, I don't know. Any parting words before we go? We could leave it like
I
an
don't
awkward,
like
just
prepare
cut off. I just
or
didn't
anything.
know.
I don't
want to put you on the spot. I'm just saying. Is there any final words? I mean, great chat, and obviously you have a huge following. Sun Distributing, great tools. Tint Keg. I would arm myself if I'm doing cars. I would absolutely arm myself with the hydrophobic remover, which is Squeaky Monkey.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Arm yourself with it because how much is a bottle?
The 8-ounce bottles are $19.99.
You buy one 8-ounce bottle, you put it on your counter, and if you run into a problem, you have it on hands. And if you love it, you buy more. If you don't, you don't. And if you never use it, it's better than needing it because that one time you pull that car in, you realize you need it, you're going to be like, damn, I'll order it for the next one. So be smart and order it ahead of time. And Jesus Mejia said, I have done business with Brittany in the past, and she's awesome. So, I mean, you all have a huge, you have a huge following. I mean, 3-4 years, you've definitely made an impact.
We try to handle our customers in a way that we would want a company to handle us. We remember dealing with different film companies and every time something went wrong being told, oh, well, it was installer error. Yeah. That wasn't the film, it was you. and things like that. And we're like, but why? Why does it have to be that way? Why can't you just tell me, like, it's okay. We're going to take care of you. Like, let's move on. We'll send you new foam, or sorry, that tool broke. We'll send you a new one. Like, why? Let's change that part of the industry where people are like, because now it's to the point where people who have never dealt with us before, they'll call up to tell me about a problem that they're having, and they immediately jump on the defense.
Of course.
And it's like, you don't have to do that. I'm going to take care of you, honey. It's okay.
Of course.
Chill out.
That's the best thing ever. The best thing ever, because you see it the right way. It's you saw it the right way with why you built Tin Keg. You see it the right way with how you handle customer service. That's absolutely what you have to do, and then that changes the game for everybody else, because it no longer becomes, you start to pick away at people's market share because you're doing it better. And because you're doing
Yeah.
it better, you force other people to do it better. Anybody who wants to enter that market has to even try to do it better than you now. You become the bar. And that
Yeah.
positively changes the industry. And something else to point out real quick is you mentioned that Jake works down the street from you, like, hey, right? And like he's buying film from you. So he's obviously not, right? He's buying film from you or tools or either way,
Yeah.
whatever.
You guys film and tools from us.
So like
Yeah.
he's not saying like, "Oh, I'm not going to support them because they're my competition." And that's
Yeah.
again like how things work together. I want to point that out for all those people out there who really feel like you have to build walls. You don't. You can go that route, but the other way is easier and feels better and just like is like a better snowball effect. You know, um,
Yeah.
it's like going with the grain instead of against it. Like say
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, the whole time we've been in business and like had our tent shop and stuff, the one thing that my dad continuously reinforces over time is go outside and look at all the cars on that road. Look how many of them are untinted. None of you are my competition.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to eat at the end of the day. I'm not mad at you for eating too. Like, we don't have to like be mad at each other.
100%.
It's really okay.
There's opportunity when you work together. There's none when you work against each other. I mean, I actually just remembered I wanted to mention that Rick, it had to be almost a year ago or maybe 6 months ago or something. There was some question or something that we were talking about with the tin kegs being shipped out. And I was on the phone with Mike Powell. And next thing I know, Mike Powell calls Rick up. It had to be like I feel like it was like a Sunday at like my time 8:30 p.m. So like your time probably like midnight 11 or something, and like Rick totally picked up and handled it, and it wasn't anything that was a rush or it was, but like my point is like middle of the night I would never want to call somebody like that. Mike Powell got him on the line and it all got handled. So I know from firsthand experience the what you're saying is like I've seen some of it, obviously not just there but just
Yeah.
saying. Cool. Well,
No, we definitely want to change things. We want to elevate some things. So
we'll keep up the good
we're
work.
going to be the change we want.
That's it. Be the change you want to see. Don't just say it. Do it. Because, it gets, there's no shortage of people who can talk about what should be better, but like actually doing it is a whole different ballgame. And when you say, like, if you go, well, why aren't you doing it? You say, well, I don't have time. Well, nobody has time. Make time because nobody actually has time. I'm sure you don't have time to do extra things as well, but that's what you do. That's making time. That's because it's important. So cool. Well, thank you for doing this, and hopefully we'll do it again soon. And keep up all the great work.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next Wednesday. Now we're doing them on Wednesdays. There's no more Tuesdays and Thursdays. If you didn't see the post, that's the announcement. It's every Wednesday, same time and same place. So we'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks again, Brittany. We'll see you, or we'll do it again soon. Thanks again. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.